Okay. Okay. So I want to go do one more segment in Parashat Vaishyach today, even though we typically on the Sunday we move to the next parasha. But I want to do one more segment because I think it connects the other two and it finishes the platform we need to move forward. All right. So I want to just quickly recap what we did so far. So if you remember, last Sunday, we talked about the wrestling of Yaakov Avinu with X, right? And we defined it two ways. We defined X as being his own personal tug, the Yad Esav inside of him, meaning his own personal struggling with figuring out how to balance the Kol Yaakov, the essential essence of us, whom we are, to build and to grow greater things, learning Torah, Gemilut Chasadim for an eternal time, and the very practical imposition in a positive way of doing it, right, and doing it with our mandate to be co-creators, right, to build the perfectly imperfect, right? Good. So that was our first explanation of what Yaakov was struggling with. Remember, the koteret here is Yaakov yields Yisrael, Yaakov evolves into Yisrael, and Yisrael is us, and who Yisrael was for then will be, hey, how are you?
Morning.
Right.
Late. I didn't know what I could work.
All right, we keep moving you around. Keep moving you
Musical
around.
chairs, musical rooms.
Yeah, we're gonna either do this room or Young Shadatzion, Bnei Shadatzion upstairs.
But only, those are the only two.
Those are the options for now,
That's my
because
favorite.
the green room was very noisy.
Yeah.
And this room Sunday at this time, Bnei, I think is gonna be pretty noisy, so that's why I thought we'd be down here.
So,
Okay, so. Okay, hang on a second. Okay, great. All right, so we started with this wrestling, and we defined it two ways. We defined it as an internal struggle, the internal struggle that will be between us and ourselves until the end of time. And then we explained the second way, which is that it's actually Sad Esav, right? The angel of Esav, who's coming to challenge us. Isaac, hi, Abe.
Hey, hi, good morning.
What? Abe, you're
I'm on my way there.
Oh, Zeke is coming. Good. I know Abe is traveling today. You in the airport?
Yeah, I'm in the airport.
Golden Stroke, fantastic. So, fantastic. Now we have the most special thing. Okay, so two ways to look at it. We looked at it two ways. One is the internal struggle that we will eternally face between us and ourselves on the practical versus the non-practical, the practical versus the learning. We struggle throughout our lives to build this balance, right? We talked about that being one understanding of what Yaakov is wrestling with. Hi, Teddy. Good morning, honey. What Yaakov is wrestling with. And the other one was that we're talking about the world order and ideologies that will conflict and be at war, whether they be physically at war or ideologically at war until the end of time. And that is the Torah ideology and the Esav Amalek ideology. The Torah ideology is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is absolutely everything. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is everything. It's not HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the world. It's all God, everything. God is everything, encompasses everything, as we learned together in the Yud Gimel Ikarim, some of us. And the everything, the existence, as Rambam dubs it, is wants and pines and desperately reaches out for a relationship of care with us forever. That's the Torah view. And the Esav / Amalek view is, yes, we agree that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is existence, is everything, and everything lives within him, so to speak. We just work with the Kabbalistic perspective? Elliot?
Not the Amalek part.
Oh, well, the Amalek part is not gonna be part of it, right, good.
Yeah.
So Amalek would agree that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is everything, but Amalek says, from them, they say very simple, and these are the people we're dealing with more and more in our world, that yes, there is a God. God is everything. Everything does live within him. But if you have something within whom everything lives, you think he cares about you? You think he cares about Ricky? You think he cares about Bob? You think he cares about Joe? No. What are you talking about? The world is arbitrary. The world is happenstance. The world is the laws of nature, and that's it. So when we looked at part one of the 3 parts that I want to put together this morning, part one was the struggle. Is it an internal struggle between me and me based on what we are tooled to do, which is to follow this path of a greater intellectual and spiritual life? But wait a second, we've got to do that in the context of a successful physical life. We have to, and we should work, and we should build buildings, and we should build companies, and we're mandated to do that. So that struggle is what Yaakov is struggling with. And at the end, this force, which he struggles with, according to interpretation A, which is within him, right? The force, so to speak, or he himself acknowledges, Ki sarita im Elokim v'im anashim batuchal. You struggled with it, Yaakov. You figured it out. You're going to be able to balance the two, and therefore you're going to be called Yisrael, Yashar El. You're going to be able to be straight with God. And as we learn, the term Yashar, as Pi Chacham Zik, is that heat-seeking missile, off, back, off, back, off, back, right?
Right.
Beautiful. Abe, I want to hear what happens when you go through security. Let's see how they feel about these ideas. Huh? Let's see.
I want to see what happens. I want to see what happens when you go through the X-ray machine with the phone.
Okay, and the second one is that we will triumph. Kisarita means that the external force dragging me away, pulling me in the direction of Amalek, right? To pull me in the direction of, you can't be serious when you say that God, that's absolutely everything, that the world is part of him, really cares about Joe. And the answer is, does, and Yisrael will ultimately bring that to the world. Okay, that was.
So it's not feasible. It's not feasible that it's not even possible.
All the time.
That's right.
Don't worry.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Is the alternative sustainable at all? I mean, it is obviously it works for whomever follows it. Now, it's not making them die, right? It's not bringing about a certain death. So is it sustainable past a certain amount of time, or how does that work exactly? Meaning, how do we know right now? Where is the litmus test that other way, aside from Mashiach, when we know when the world is illuminated? How do we know now? What is the
that's the ultimate? That's the absolute question. That's the question. That's the question. Capital Giant, capital THE. That's the question. And how do we know?
Right.
How do we know? Because we have to know. We know by learning and doing. Learning and doing, learning and doing. There's no other way to know. There's just no other. We're not going to know by sitting back and pondering it.
Well, certainly not. No.
More ba'omek and more ba'omek. More and more and more and more in depth. So the knowledge becomes stronger and more difficult to move and more difficult to shake. And with the in the context of Avraham Avinu Akedat Yitzchak, there's going to be a time or 2 or 3 where everybody's knowledge is going to be shaken to its core. Going to be shaken to its core. And you're a serious person if at some point in time God shakes everything you believed in and built your life on, shakes you to the point of nearly giving up, saying this, I built my life on all these values and all this Torah learning and all this connectedness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and a knowledge of what he is, and now everything is dashed. Everything is dashed. Everybody,
Meaning you had one little bit of it wrong and it kind of makes it all wrong, and then you have to revisit.
no. What was Abraham Avinu challenged? He was challenged with
It's
the
Akedah.
right with the Akedah, which threw everything out the
How
window.
much do you believe?
Huh?
How much do you believe?
Yeah.
That is.
What about if one of the tenets of Torah, you got that wrong? Just one, whatever that is, whatever that may
You
be.
can always get one wrong. Good. You can always get a lot wrong.
Right, but it's a big one. Like, for example, the one with chewing the bird away from the nest. I don't want to go into that whole thing, but it has a lot of ramifications being wrong about that one, right? So that really could undermine a lot of what you believe.
Right. But I want to present it to you.
You want-
God willing, we're going to be wrong in our understanding about a lot of things. God willing, because if we're
Right.
wrong, it means we're growing intellectually.
Correct.
It means the depth
Correct.
and breadth of Torah is gone. I look back, I have hundreds of classes literally in my file cabinets, thank God, from 40 years of teaching, right? I look back
Uh-huh.
and I'll pull out one or I'll pull out two from 10 that I'll
Right.
reference. What are you talking about? Torah is Torah. Learning is learning. Yaakov is Yaakov. Don't go that far. But one thing, but I'm not at the same point in my life, right? Chokhmah, remember
Right.
the Chokhmah and Binah? I went this way, I went that
Same
way.
book over and over.
You read the same book over, you get to a
Right.
different point.
And you
Therefore,
find something different. When
right,
you find
if I
something
take it
different.
to further than that,
Different.
the knowledge, when I say I know it, it's different now, but. So you're gonna know it differently, and God willing, like we talked about 2 times ago, you're gonna be very comfortable saying, this is right, and this is right, even though
Right.
they're completely different. This is right, and this is right, but then there's gonna be a point or more where everything you built it on, everything you knew is gonna go out the window, everything.
Right.
And
Right.
that-
It questions everything you've done. Your whole life could have been running in the wrong direction in a sense.
Right, exactly. And if it
Wow.
happens to you,
I love that.
if it happens to you, you know you're a serious person.
Right.
If it
Right.
happens
No, it's
to
not
you-
something to be afraid of. It's something to look forward to.
That's right. If that absolute crisis, and by the way, there's an interesting question, right? Why was the Akedah Yitzchak made public? Why was it made public? Right? Who was there? Who knew it happened?
Right.
Nobody.
Right.
Abraham and Isaac, period. He left the Na'arim back, right? And God, right? But why did they make it public? What do you say, gentlemen?
Because there's a huge lesson to be learned from it. That's what.
Huge lesson to be learned from it, exactly, right? Because it's a huge lesson to be learned from it. Good? Okay, good. So how does that portray for us? Will it be public? Should it be public? Do we share these things with our children when we've had this crisis? Do we make it public? Yeah.
You
what
said
do-
yes early on, like a while ago, that when we do something really good, we should tell our families because they'll do the same things once we tell them about it.
But when we fall on our faces, do we do that?
So we should brag about our growth and we should brag about our chesed. When it comes to
Correct.
falling on our faces, as Zeke describes it, we said that when with the people closest to us, we describe it on a personal level. With the people further from us, we describe it as a third party. That's how we do it, right? That's how we do it. And in that sense, because we're not Abraham and Yitzchak, and because we will not be more memorialized in a book for people to delve into forever and ever, we have to qualify how we present it to the world. And that's how we do it. So to our children, yes, we should be absolutely 1,000,000% sharing. A child should know his father's fragility. It's very Jewish, and I'm sure you all do it now. I'm not telling you anything new, right? A child should know it, regardless of the age of the child, ever, because it just prepares the child for where he will be and must be. Okay. So the second thing we talked about was good.
Sure. Sorry.
Second thing we talked about is this mini war that Shimon and Levi staged against Hamor and Shechem. And we learned a couple of important things from there. We learned that we have to be very aware of what's going on around us. We learned that we have to be willing to pick up the sword. We learned that we can't live in some fantasy world. And we learned that when we fight the fight, we have to be pure in the public expression of our intention. And that the reason that Yaakov got angry with his sons was not because they took up his sword. It was because they muddied the waters afterwards by cleaning out the town. Had they not cleaned out the town, then their intentions would have been pristine. So when we do something, and when we do something colossal and large, we have to consider the ramifications. But the qualifier to that is if there is something that is absolutely, unquestionably threatening me or my children or my people, I absolutely do not wait and pray for a miracle. I do not do it. I stand up, I scream and yell, hey, I fight, I do whatever I must do. Okay,
So we have to consider the world's perception whenever we do anything,
up to a point.
up to a point, right? That's something that we have to do.
As long as it doesn't preclude me from protecting my children. Look at that, like with the, you got it.
I was on the first one.
Beautiful. If the world perception will constrict me in any way from protecting my children, from preempting that protection of my children, I don't care. I go with it. So, who is Yisrael? Yisrael is part A, an entity, a nation, a group of spectacular, God willing, potentially spectacular, inherently great individuals who will live in a practical world and live in a spiritual world. That's the first wrestling that we talked about, the first wrestling with the angel or with himself. The second one was, in this practical world, we will absolutely unequivocally fight for ourselves and our own. And when we look at situations in Jewish history where, God forbid, terrible things happen to us, we have to look at the Goyim and what they did, but much more importantly, we have to look at ourselves and what we didn't do. Yes, Chacham.
How come Abraham and Yaakov don't get the benefit from being able to tell their story or fall it on their face in the third person? It's first person.
It's a very big question. Zeke is asking a fantastic question, very big question. And that is that I said that today and yesterday and tomorrow, we will tell these stories in the third person. The question is, why weren't Abraham and Yitzchak's story told in the third person? And our rabbis,
We're their children.
For their children.
We're their children. We are.
Why? That's a very convenient answer.
It's for us to tell it over.
Okay, but I'm telling you, what Noah's answering is true, but Zeke, your question is a difficult question.
It is.
And we do struggle with that question.
Right.
Okay, so you need to know that.
I personally think that it's
I know you
very
do.
effective to tell the story.
I know you do. I know you do.
But anyway,
So
I
struggle with it. I'm okay if you struggle with it. Yeah. Know what you were saying?
I was saying that before, you said that you tell it as personal for your children, and you tell it as third person for a friend, and we're the avot's children, so we get it personally.
Right. Okay. That's what most people hold. The fact that it goes out beyond us is where Zeke's question is focused, and that's a question. Our rabbis struggle with that same question. Okay. Now we're going to go to part 3, and with us, with this, I believe we're going to complete the profile of Yisrael, which is us, right? Okay, good. Third part. The third part is when let's look at the beginning of the parasha, Perek Lamed Bet Pasuk Daled, where we see. I'm going to paraphrase just in the interest of time that. I'm not going to paraphrase that much, actually. That Yaakov, let's go back. I'm sorry. Go back to the beginning of Perek Lamed Bet. So he says that. It says that the beginning of Perek Lamed Bet, the first pasuk, it says that Vaishkem Lavan Baboker, Lavan and Yaakov get up early, and Lavan kisses his grandchildren and his daughters. He blesses them, and Yaakov leaves, right? And where is he leaving to? As we know, we're going to move through this quickly, but we have to raise all of the questions that need to be touched on here. Where is he leaving to? He's leaving to come back to Israel, right? He's leaving Haran, right? Outside of the land of Israel in the north, and he's coming back home. And this is after 34 years, right? 34 years, 36 years.
Working for the daughters. And all
It was
that.
22 years by Lavan, and we say that he was 14 years in yeshiva, right? So it was somewhere between 30 and 36 years, right? So long, long time that he's been outside of the land of Israel. Good. So Yaakov halach l'darko v'yifka'u bo malachei Elokim. Right, end of the parashat Vayetzeh, that Yaakov is going in his way, and who confronts him? Right, we learned together the word paga, which is to confront. It's not a seamless, easy greet.
They interjected themselves.
Yeah, they interjected themselves. Beautiful. Paga, vayifka.
Right.
They interject. It's a little more.
Right.
It's a little aggressive.
Interrupt.
Right. When we see the term paga, it's aggressive. Good,
Do
beautiful.
we have this? I don't want to.
What?
It's too much of a black hole.
What?
Is that what happens to us when we say when we encounter or something? We encounter Malchei Elohim. Is that something that happens today?
100%.
So is that right? That's what I'm asking. So
Good.
that it is, and we're just not
100%.
aware of it, maybe. But it's
I don't know.
happening.
I don't know if we're aware or not, but yes.
Right.
Okay, good.
Mhm.
But it's a very important consideration. Yeah. V'yifka'u bo malachei Elokim, right? They hit him. They pop. They pop. It's unexpected. It's a little bit of a sharp, unsettling thing when the angels come to greet him. Now,
Dark.
why is it unsettling? Our rabbis say that the two angels that he met when he first left, right, with the vision of the Sulam, stayed with him throughout, whatever that means. And now, when on his way back to the land, he has 2 plus 2. He now has 4 angels
What
with him.
about the ones that came to visit Abraham when he was sick?
It could be the same. It could be
Right.
the same as the first 2.
And
That's
they were
one of the
planning to
opinions.
get back up there, right?
That, yes, beautiful. It could be the same or not. So they might be the same. So now we have the 2 angels who are outside Israel angels, right? Right? They're outside Israel angels. And we have the 2 inside Israel angels. And the reason that Yaakov is paga is because he's surprised. I don't need 4. I got 2. Why are you sending me another 2?
Israel angels are.
The outside is,
huge
and yeah,
implication like that you're throwing out that haphazardly, right? Because that means that there's something different about an angel in Israel. And an
absolutely.
angel outside of Israel.
Absolutely. There's
Who's
something
on it
different.
And in on it.
That's right. That's
So
correct.
that starts there, not just with us out here with the heretics. And the
That's
fire and
right.
Smoke signals and
Great.
all that stuff.
That's right. These spiritual forces out here
Yeah.
have a different level of potency, different level
They're
of
both
power.
Huge though.
One,
They're both
it's huge and it's true,
Right.
and it's true today as
Different
well.
criteria. I mean,
It's
you're either
different
a captain
criteria.
and you get
No
to go into, you're an Israel guy or you're not.
There's no question about it. There's simply no, you can't ignore the fact that
That's huge.
when something is baked into the land of Israel, it has a much more direct line.
Yeah.
It has a much greater
On a
access.
supernatural level, we're talking about.
On a practical supernatural. The land of Israel will be judged much more harshly than out here. Why? Because there's less fumes,
Right.
there's less intermediaries,
Right.
everything goes
They
direct.
had an advantage. They should be doing
Okay, it's an advantage and it's
afterwards. Yeah,
tough.
okay. I
It's
got it.
tougher. Cool?
Yeah.
Chacham Ezra, you're very quiet this morning. You good? Huh? Okay, good. All right, great. All
I
right.
feel like is it as much the land as it is the people within it? I mean,
It's very important.
if you go back 150 years when it was majority Bedouins and whatever you want to call, Palestinians, was it a holy land when you came there and you had a yeshiva with 24 people in it?
So it's a very important question. Is the Kedusha, right, beautiful. Is the Shekhinah always there,
Yes.
or is the Shekhinah
It's
there
magnetism,
and
it's
it
there.
comes and goes? We say certain areas, like Har Sinai, for example, which you might claim is the greatest place on earth, that's where we got the Torah. The Shekhinah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence was temporal. It was for a few hours, right? because it's outside of the land. Inside the land, we say that the Shekhinah never leaves, right? The Kadosh Baruch Hu's presence never leaves. Now, to your point, is the presence different based on the volume and the quality of the people? There's no question about it. There's no question about it. So I have this interesting thing. I have an inherent Kedusha in this geographic area. And the question becomes, not for today's conversation, but what about the areas of biblical Eretz Yisrael that are not yet settled? Right? That's an interesting question. What about the other side of the Jordan River? What about these other areas that are absolutely unequivocally part of Eretz Yisrael and which scare the wits out of the Arabs? Because they say, you don't have, and that's why the biggest concern is the right-wing Greater Israel advocates, because they say it's not going to end with the West Bank. It's going to end when you take Jordan and part of Syria and this and that, right? That's their fear, because the parameters of the land of Israel as defined in the Chumash are not the little tiny country we have now. They're a considerably bigger country. So
So like if you had a dosimeter or one of these devices, right, that measures the Shekhinah, right, imagine, right? And when you went to Israel, it would go. Beep, beep, beep,
That's
beep.
right.
It would be more than here.
That's nothing to talk about. It'll be higher in Jerusalem. It would be higher in the old city. It would be higher at the Temple
That's
Mount.
huge, also.
It's very important, and that's why, and we've all been in Israel, thank God.
Yeah.
When you
right.
when
But
you
if you went there with this thing, it would start going off the charts.
That's right. Everything Chacham is more intense over there. Everything.
That was
When
really
and think about this,
But
because
would
you've
you
all
say
been
it's
there, right?
More intense because there's more people now than it was
No,
before?
it's more
It's the
intense
same-
because it's
can't-
more visceral.
Right.
It's more
Yeah,
spiritual.
Sword.
It's more
Yeah,
not
right.
nishmati. So that's why, when you go there, why do people fall in love with the falafel guy or the cab driver in Israel or the soldier?
Because it feels
Why?
good.
You never saw the guy in your
That's
life.
absolutely
Why?
pixie dust.
Because
It's
the
a real thing.
connection
Yeah.
is a connection, a spiritual connection. Over here, we connect physically, and
That's
then
what my question is. That's the people.
that's right. That's the people. That's why, to your point, it's both. So the kedusha never disappears, right? The kedusha outside the land is about when the Jews are there. In other words, will the kedusha always be in Brooklyn or on Eretz Israel? No. Because when Mashiach comes, not everybody's going to move to Israel, but most people will, but there'll still be a presence outside. But whatever does move, the Kedusha goes with them. Now, to your point about the people, there's no question that the more people, the more Torah, the more brings it more. But you're working with a compounded component, right? Over here, I get 1 + 1 is 2. Over there, I get 1 + 1 is 4.
There's a supernatural
Right.
element here.
There's a supernatural element, right? That's right. That's right. And by the way, you see it, right? You see it in everything that's going on, and nothing makes sense over there.
Yeah.
Nothing makes sense.
It really does.
Nothing. Nothing. I'm sure some of you, or all of you who are very well read, have read books about the wars.
It was, yeah.
They made the War of Independence.
No sense at all.
It makes no sense at all.
Zero.
The 6-Day War. It makes less sense. It makes less sense.
It's like a.
It makes no sense. The Yom Kippur War was a horrific, tragic war in Israel. But the fact that the country was not, God forbid, I mean, so many people were killed in such a short period of time. It was the worst of them.
But still a
The
triumph.
worst of them, huh?
But still a triumph.
But the fact that the country survived,
Yeah.
right? It survived doesn't make any sense. Not anything makes sense. Okay, good. So that's what we got so far. Now, so Yaakov is greeted by the Israeli angels, right? He had the northern Levant angels who were with him, the Haran related angels. Now he's greeted by the Israeli angels, right? That's what happens when he first leaves. So he says, when he sees them, Vayikra Shem Hamakom Ahu Machanayim. What does Machanayim mean? Two
camps.
Beautiful. 2 camps, meaning the camp of, right? The camp of the 2 sets of
Mahanim
angels.
would be more than 2.
Machanayim
Is 2 or
is
more
2
than 1?
or more. Is more than
multiple.
right. Is multiple.
Because Mahanim is not a word.
No.
So Mahanaim.
Right.
Gotcha.
Beautiful. So beautiful. Excellent. So Machanayim is
More than 1.
more than one. So we have 2 camps of angels. Now that's very important that we have 2 camps of angels. Yaakov Avinu is surprised by the fact that he's greeted by the second camp because he's got 2 angels. How many angels does the guy need in life, right? He's got his two angels there with him. Okay, so now,
Different.
they're different. Excellent. So let's see why they're needed and why they're different. Start the beginning of the parasha. Vaishyach Yaakov melachim nefanav el Esav achiv arza seir sedeh Edom. Beauty. What's going on here, guys? The rabbis ask a lot of questions, and here again, we need to learn this segment. We put it together with the other two, and God willing, we have a grand slam in terms of our understanding of Yaakov, of Yisrael. Vaishlach Yaakov melachim. What's the question here,
Are they
guys?
real malachim or are they?
Right, who are they?
That's
Who are
why I
they?
send them ahead of himself, right? Because
Right.
he doesn't trust and all that stuff.
Okay, one second. But let's start with where we were. And the question that the rabbis ask is, why did he send angels and not people?
Right.
So who did he send? Now he's got 4 angels.
Right.
So he's got
Right,
angels
that's
who are
possible.
on the field,
Yeah.
and he's got angels on the bench,
Yeah, why not?
right?
I got 2 with me, 2 ahead of me.
I have
and-
angels who are playing, and I have angels who are on the bench, right? I have angels who are, what do you call it?
Backup, subs.
Subs. I
Substitutes.
have subs, right? I have subs, really. So he takes the Chutz La'aretz angels, right? And he dispenses them for the job.
Those are the expendable ones.
Those are the expendable ones, because he's going to Israel now. He wants to keep the other guys
Right.
around.
Right.
So he takes
He's got the
those,
new-
because the rabbis are challenged here. What do you mean?
Let me go back upstairs.
Yeah, what do you mean menachim? Why take the menachim? Send people. What are you gonna do with the menachim? Now, so menachim, our rabbis answer, and by the way, we're learning this with the direction of the Vaishyach HaKadosh. Okay, we're going with his approach. Lefanav, the term lefanav, what are you talking about? Lefanav, in front of him. Why in front of him? He sent angels to his brother. So the fanav doesn't simply mean in front of him. It means in an anticipatory way, right? He didn't have to meet, and this is the rub here, and you got to know this. And this is what people don't talk about. He could have completely avoided this.
Chose to do this.
You hear me? Chacham Zach, he could have completely avoided this.
I was reading the commentaries and it said he could have went around, and the Mishnah actually chastises him for not avoiding Esav.
That's right. He could have missed him. He could have missed him
He
totally.
could have went around himself.
Not even, he could
Could've
pull it
just not
around.
go there.
You could
Or
go,
he could have not sent the.
it
angel
could
in
have
front of him.
completely avoided the thing.
He could have
Gone a
went
little
right.
bit this way. He could have completely
What if he
avoided
walked
this.
in without
Huh?
angels? Was he afraid to do that?
We didn't get there yet.
We don't know.
Very good, beautiful.
Right.
But have the caveat, right, the qualifier that this didn't have to happen. Once again, wasn't this catastrophic for Yaakov? Didn't he risk everything with this? Yes. So why didn't he avoid it? Couldn't he have avoided it?
Where is Edom today? Do we know?
Yes, over here.
Where?
Over here, it's over here.
Golan.
Huh? Not really the Golan. I'll show you on a map. Not really the Golan, maybe a little bit south of
So
that.
he's explaining why the other 2 angels came. Is
Huh?
that what it is?
No, so
So 2 angels
now
were
we
lost on
understand
the
why
sky,
the other
right,
2
right.
angels are there, and this whole
Figuring
thing,
He's supposed to do this.
beauty, this whole thing is staged. One second. This whole thing is staged like everything else is staged, right? Not staged in a disingenuous way, but it's staged in order to teach us something forever, to build in us something as a forever understanding of life as Yisrael. Okay? Yeah, is he?
If he avoided him, wouldn't they eventually have met up at Yitzchak's funeral? Meaning that could have been a worse interaction.
Maybe, maybe not. At Yitzchak's funeral, it's the daddy is lying there, his daddy is lying there. It's true. It could have been worse. It probably would have been just the 2 of them. Funerals in those days weren't, we understand them to be. It would have been the 2 of them burying him. So it could have been worse. It could have been, the anger could have been mitigated by the father they both loved lying there. No.
Right. But Emunah is about tackling your fear and knowing that you have something beside you, which was why, we're only doing Aleph to Yudalid, but you go a little bit further and it talks about how Yaakov a second time says he's afraid of Esav. So that, I'm sure there's an answer why that's not a lack of
So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about your
this
point,
one, right?
all right? Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Good. So he could have avoided him. Izzy's point is he really couldn't have avoided him, right? Izzy, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, eventually, true
Eventually
emunah,
they can meet up.
your fear and knowing you have, you'll succeed.
Whatever.
Yeah,
See.
okay, good. Yeah.
I have a picture of where Edom is in relationship to the.
You want to show
I
it?
wanna see that.
Can you?
Oh, you, yeah, just.
What, you know what's that, or?
Edom is right there.
There it is. Okay, okay, good, show it.
I was just looking it up. It's so
All
funny.
right, show.
Yeah, that's it. I see it. I
Point
see
it
it.
out again.
I see it. I see it. Yeah, that's
Edom's
great.
right there.
Awesome.
And I wonder where they are now.
Canaan.
Where's Canaan?
Oh, they're
Can I-
they're
Up
traveling
there,
south, you
Canaan
say?
is north, right?
So they're traveling south.
Yeah, he must have been somewhere over here because this is for the Jews in the desert, but it says where everything is. I guess they were south, and he could have went around because he was going back to Rivka and Yitzchak's house. He was probably somewhere over here. He could have went around and then went back up, but instead he chose to go straight through and confront it. Esav while he was there.
You could have avoided it. To your father's point, well, maybe it would have been a mistake to avoid it because he's going to confront it at some point. But I want you to look at it this way: whether he confronted it this time, or he was going to confront it at some point, the parameters of this confrontation are built for us. Yeah, the same way the parameters of the confrontation on the Reed Sea, when Bnei Israel walked through and back, right, and Kiryat Yamsuf, the parameters of that confrontation are manufactured. In that case, we know that there was absolutely no reason for the Jewish people to cross a body of water to go, Zach, you can reference your map again, to go from Egypt to Israel. It's all land connected.
They went out of their way to go through that.
So HaKadosh Baruch Hu turns them
Yeah.
and puts them right up against the water, stuck, to create a crisis
For the dramatic
that will bring on certain things
Right.
that we will learn
We could
from
go
and
pay
build
for it.
from forever and ever. So the same way that was manufactured in quotation marks by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this is somewhat manufactured. You could say that Yaakov brought it on. You could say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought it on. But in any and to Izzy's point, he's right. There would have been a day of confrontation, but confrontation is happening now. He's with his infants. He's with his ladies, his wives. That. This is the confrontation.
Oh, so you're saying that it's that Hashem may be bringing it sooner, but it's definitely something that's
it's going to happen, yeah. And to Izzy's point, and he's right, it's going to happen.
So it's not so much divine intervention as it is just speeding fast forward.
It's structured and manufactured in a way where we will become more Yisrael as a result of understanding it, of what happened and what will happen to us.
There's a lot of implications there with
That's right.
free choice and all of that. right?
Millions. Yeah, good. You okay, you guys? Okay, so he sends them Edom. He sends them in front of him in the direction of Edom. Again, that's to tell us that Esav was up over here in Edom. Maybe or maybe not. Let's say he was coming in the direction here, but it could have been avoided until Yaakov gets home in a fortified place where he can protect himself. So he sends him with Fanav, he preempts it, he brings it on in the direction of the place where his brother was. Other opinion says that, what are you talking about, stay Edom? Esav wasn't there yet. We don't see till later on in this parasha or the next, I don't remember, where Esav actually leaves the land of Israel and goes to Edom. He's still in Israel. So El Ste Edom, Adsa Ste Edom, is talking about not where he is now, but where he will be in the future. He'll ultimately be in Edom. He's not there yet. So we have to look at both possibilities.
Is it even called Edom?
It is when it comes with him. The name comes with him. But really, on a practical level, he's not really there yet.
He's not
Physically there yet. Right. Yeah. So really what we're talking about here is something more prophetic, something more go forward, where this is where he's going to ultimately be. Even though on a practical level, it's not described but that's where
It's like telling a story in 1200 and saying something America, that's what will be America.
What will be
not
America.
What is America.
Which you see from Marsh, and you have to take note. And it wasn't that yet. Okay, it wasn't that yet. Good, okay.
Abby, can you mute your phone, please?
Sorry, okay, all right, great. Okay. ויצב אותם לאמור, כה תאמרום לאדוני לעשו, כה אמר עבדך יעקב, אם לבן גרתי, באחד עד עתה. Where are the redundancies in this pasuk, gentlemen? כה תאמרום לאדוני לעשו, כה אמר עבדך יעקב, באחד עד עתה. What's going on here? Where are the redundancies? Where are the yiturim in the pasuk? Teddy, what do you say?
Extra call mad, call tomrun.
Good. Ko aman ko tonmum, right? What do I need it for? Say it once. Say such and such to my brother.
More allowed only also.
And one ladoni, right? Good. Let's talk first about the first one. Ko tomrun, the ko tomrun and ko amad. What is happening here?
Right.
Why would he say it this way?
You should say it, and you should say it.
Say it once. Advise them once how to talk to him, right? What
Shifts from first person to whatever that is. I can't even
Yeah.
follow it, but he's doing
Yeah,
that.
it's strange, right? It's
Yeah.
absolutely unnecessary. It's a little bit strange. So what do you want to say? What do you say, gentlemen?
Right. Well,
Our rabbi suggested an interesting thing because the Yiturim in the Pasuk are glaring. These extra words are glaring. And they say that the Yaakov assumes that the angels knew how this thing was going to shake out. And he hopes and believes that it was going to shake out for the positive. We'll talk about why in a minute. So he hopes and believes it's going to work out to the positive. He assumes they know how it's going to work out. So he's putting pauses in his sentence. He says, Kol tomrum la'adoni le'esav. There's an atnach there. Pause. Kol amar avdechai Yaakov. Such and such said your servant, Yaakov. What our rabbis say is he's hoping that the angels are going to interrupt and say, stop, Yaakov. You don't have to do this. You don't have to worry like this.
Slow on purpose.
He's doing it
He's
slow.
dragging it out.
He's adding language. He's baiting the Melachim to bail him out and to reassure him. Sometimes somebody comes to you with a question, and the way they're phrasing the question or the request, what they're doing is they're just prompting you
that's the language.
to offer your help, to offer your insight, right?
But he's telling them Amar, which is being specific.
Yeah, and this is the exact words that he
Thus
used.
shall you say.
This is the exact words that he
It says
used.
your servant
But
Jacob
our rabbi
is
suggests, at least according to the Alshech,
second verse.
that the redundancy of repeating it twice, the Ko Amar Ko Tamrun, is to say that he was baiting the angels who, based on his perspective, should have known what was going to be with all this, to tell him, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. Good? You have a question, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little on, but off topic. How come it says twice in the parasha, Esav hu Edom?
How come, sorry?
Esav hu Edom. It defines him as Edom multiple times in the parasha. Why is that necessary to repeat?
I think it suggests what we end up with in the big picture, which is the Esav you see today is not that consequential. He's a local militant tribe. That's
He's not
the way
Genghis
Esav
Khan,
is.
he's not like this.
He's not Genghis Khan. He will be Genghis Khan. So remember, guys, Esav is Edom. Esav is not just Esav. If you're looking at the context of this whole thing, why do I need umpteen zillion psukim on this Yaakov Esav stuff? If it's just two brothers who can't get along, so tell me they can't get along and they had a fight and they almost did this. So no. I want you to know something. Esav is Edom.
But how come Malkei Elohim don't know what they're supposed to be doing? How come he's got to instruct?
Okay, we'll talk about that. One second, we'll talk about that in a minute. Do they know or don't they know? 1 second, we'll talk about that. Very
He's
good.
trying to get out of it.
But I want you to reference, when you see the word Esav, the Torah is forcing you to reference Edom. Now, you could say, it should have said Esav Amalek, but essentially it's saying the same thing. When the Torah says Esav Edom, it means Esav this way. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Rivka that you have two world views in your belly, two world views who will fight till the end of time, right? That's what we're referencing here when we say the word Edom. Again, you could have used the word Amalek, but because Amalek doesn't really come on the scene yet, And we can't define him as clearly as we are because we're defining him retrospectively. We use the word Edom. Okay with that? Cool. So he's hoping for a bailout, right? He's hoping for the angels to say, don't worry, everything's going to be cool. He says, Im Lavan Garti. What is he doing when he says that? What is he referencing? What does the term God mean instead of a Ged, instead of a Toshav? Huh?
Stranger, exactly.
A Ged, right?
I
Is a
was-
sojourner. A Ged is a sojourner, right? A person who doesn't have permanent
Right,
residence.
He wasn't supposed to be there for as long as he was, but he was. That's what he's trying
And
to say.
all the time he
He's
was
transient,
there,
right?
and all the time he was there, he was never settled.
Right.
He was never a
Transient passengers,
landowner.
right? He's a transient.
He's transient. All the time he was there, he was transient. So 1 second, he's been transient for 36 years. How horrific is that? But what else does it tell you?
It implies that he was stuck there. He didn't want to be there.
He didn't
right?
want to be there, but more than
Because
that.
His brother,
What
he's
is-
telling his brother that he got trapped there, right? That he
No,
was-
but more than that. Come on. What else is it saying?
That he played the long game with Lavan. He's showing his brother that he was able to do that. and-
But he wasn't. He was a nobody. He's telling Lavan, okay, you see the cattle and the
Not
sheep.
Lavan, he's telling.
I'm telling you,
Esau.
sorry.
Right.
Telling Esau, you see the cattle and the sheep and whatever. But remember the beracha that I took from you, Mr. Esau?
Oh, wait, so this is new, because I was there for 30 somewhat years and now I have all this already.
And now I have nothing.
Oh, I have nothing now.
Wow,
I
what do
thought
you
he had
mean? I have
all
nothing?
the cattle.
He does, beauty,
Right.
perfect, beauty. So what is he telling Lavan? What is he telling Esau? I lived with Lavan as a sachir yom, so to speak, as a daily laborer, right? You see the cattle and the sheep and the whatever, these are metaltalin. These are things you buy and sell. But the wealth that was promised to me based on daddy, the wealth that was promised to me in the beracha that was given to us after the class, after the class,
How long will it take?
30 minutes.
30 minutes?
Yes, after the
Okay,
class. Thank
okay.
you very
Thanks,
much. Get on
got
his phone. So the beracha that was promised to him by Ten Chalokim Mitala Shamayim Mishmer Aretz Rob Dagan Betirosh, the beracha didn't get to him. So what is he telling Esav? I was a ged. I was a sojourner. I was never a landowner. I never got daddy's beracha, Esav. Don't hate me the way you do.
I'm still.
Is he saying that or is he rubbing it in his
I'm
face?
roaming.
Where's he
I'm
rubbing-
still
rubbing it in?
transient.
He does have an entourage,
I have an entourage and it has value.
right?
But
But
that's all I got. I'm with.
This is
everything
all I
else.
got. This is
this is
everything I got. This is everything I got.
'Cause I'm.
And the beracha of this exorbitant plenty that in those days, and some extent it's true now also, was primarily recognized in terms of land value, land ownership. I have nothing, he tells his brother. Everything I have is a metaltalin.
He's giving it to
Everything
him.
I have
too.
is liquid assets.
He's
So
trading it to his brother.
awesome. 1 second. We'll get there in a second. Awesome. Now, so he qualifies who he is. He calls him my master, right? Esav is already a landowner, right? He calls him my master. He highlights the fact that all he has is these tangibles, things that can be bought and
I've
sold,
acquired them. Yeah.
which I've acquired, which is something, but hey,
You worked 36 years.
it worked 36 years. What do I got?
I've amassed this.
What do I got? Yeah, and beautiful to Zeke's point, when he splits the camp into 2 camps, he gives his brother everything. Our rabbis say, according to some opinions, according to the Tanchuma, not according to everybody, but according to the Tanchuma, which is one of the Midrashim, Midrashic commentaries, when he splits the camps and he starts having all these animals parade in front of his brother, he gives it all to him because he holds by the idea. And this is a heavy one, and I struggle with it, but I'm going to put it out there, put it in
Was
brackets
he
in
owes
the
his
back
brother
of your
because he
mind.
stole the backbone?
No, he holds by the idea that there will not be beracha on the assets that someone brings from outside of the land when they move to the land.
Oh.
But that's opinion. That's opinion.
I'm qualified. I wasn't gonna bring it. I
Where's-
wasn't gonna bring it.
where's-
It's a Tanchuma.
Where's the
It's
source?
one of the Midrashim. Wow, you gotta hear it. You gotta hear it. You gotta hear
I
it.
don't know.
And okay, listen, plenty of people brought
But
money
that's
to
not the
Israel
meaning
and
today.
made tons of money with it, okay?
Right.
But we need to know that, there is an opinion that says this, and we need to know that there is an opinion that says that
That's
when he
myself.
split his camp, he put all of his material assets, his liquid material assets, the cattle and the sheep and the whatever, into camp A, gave that all to his brother.
So you're saying he's
Because he
checking his
said-
assets at the door?
He
because
checked
doesn't
them at
wanna
the
bring
door,
them into
Because he said, I'm not gonna benefit
He's
from
not
these
gonna need it.
anyway. Let
No,
me
I
buy
can't
them
use them.
all.
They're useless.
They're gonna bring me no value.
Right.
They're gonna bring
I
me
want
no
to start
value.
fresh.
Right,
With-
because there's no beracha attached to
I
it.
don't know about that.
I know, I'm with you, I'm with
It's
you.
hard, that's hard.
That's a
Maybe
hard,
because you got it from Avad.
huh?
Maybe because you got it from Avad.
The Tanhumad doesn't qualify it that way. He says assets brought from outside the land. I just want that, maybe, I'm just saying, it's not the opinion, it's an opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, it's important to hear it, right? To be a
Yeah.
little bit,
Yeah, no, it's
agitated.
yeah.
Good, okay, so.
Stirring the pot.
Separate camps. He comes, he fesses up and he tells him, I was garati, I was like a sojourner, I was never home, I was never comfortable, I never owned a piece of property, I never had a house. Right? I was renting my tent for 36 years. Good, that's what he says. Okay, good. And okay. They come back and he says, I have short, chamor, mitzon, right? I have all these liquid assets, but I never accomplished more than that. Vayashuvu hamelachim el Yaakov, I'm in Pasuk Zayin. They return to Yaakov and they say, Banu el achicha el Esav, v'gam holech v'kratecha v'arba me'ot ish imo.
He himself is coming, right?
So now, yeah, this is a very strange Pasuk. Vayashuvu le Yaakov. Okay, who else are they coming back to?
Right.
Obvious that they're coming back to Yaakov. Who else?
Okay.
That's not necessary. They more banu el achicha. What do you mean? We came to your brother.
Right, right.
It should be we went
Well,
to
they're
your brother.
using his way.
Halachnu el achicha. Maybe. Or banu means we approached him on a different level, maybe, because the word banu el achicha, we came to your brother instead of we went to your brother, is not accurate, not appropriate in this context.
Vayavo.
Huh?
Vayavo.
Yeah.
So you put it-
Yeah, because vayavo means a spiritual up, a spiritual bump. It didn't happen here, or did it? So that's where we're gonna
Maybe they
struggle. with
teleported
that.
over there.
Huh?
Maybe they teleported.
Maybe
over
they
there.
did. Okay, El Esav, El Achicha, El Esav, right?
Right.
Again,
So-
extra,
so-
redundant. We don't need it. V'gam. What do you mean v'gam? What do you mean v'gam? What's the extra here? So,
Repeating.
uh,
But we already know.
we know all
It's
this.
dialogue. I mean,
We
you
know
can
it.
cut all that out.
We cut it
They
all
just
out.
read this pasuk, they wouldn't know what we're talking about.
But I don't need all that. I don't need it all this way. I don't need it all, and I don't need it phrased this way. So I could have phrased it in a lot shorter terms. Okay. Okay, we're gonna come back to that in a minute. Vayira Yaakov me'od. Here's the rub, guys. Here's the point that I want to really
He was
go to.
crazy fighting.
Vayira Yaakov me'od. Yaakov goes into a terrible fear. Vayitzelo, and he absolutely panics. He almost loses himself in the fear. What is going on here? This is the key point.
He didn't expect his brother to be coming to him.
No, but go further back. Good,
He's
good,
afraid.
good. Go further back. Go further back. What's going on here?
He
Come on.
sent them to go see him,
Yeah,
and now his brother's coming directly to him saying, no, no, no,
He
you're
wants it
not
for
doing
you.
this whole thing with sending somebody, in your place. You want to stand up to me, little brother, big whatever it's called? We're gonna do.
so what's the problem? Come on, what's the problem with this? What is the problem with Yaakov's reaction? Amezrah,
Oh,
what's
that
the
he's not
problem?
trusting Hashem.
He says it twice. Do they negate each other?
Huh?
His
He
distrust.
says it twice. Do they negate each other?
The Yira and Yitzir?
Yeah.
It's a fantastic point. I never thought of it that way. I have to think of
It's
it
not
more.
describing it.
It doesn't, but the question is, why not?
Uh-huh.
I don't know why not. But in fact, it should, but it doesn't. One is a great level of fear and the other is panic. Okay, why do I need both?
Seemed.
Just tell me he's
Jacob
panic.
Seemed, Yaakov looked, really, the wording is Vayad Yaakov. Right?
Vayira, not Vayad, Vayira.
But doesn't that at least mean like appearance?
No, in this case,
He
it's
was.
two youths.
He felt that
Very
way.
good. Very good. It should be one negates the other. I don't know why it isn't, but it isn't. It's compounding the other. Okay, it's compounding the other. Now, the question becomes as follows. Yaakov got the blessing of his father, right?
You
He
should
got the
trust in
blessing.
Hashem that it's all gonna work
He
out.
also, at the Sulam, he got the blessing of God. Let's go back to the Sulam a minute. Let's go back to the Sulam a minute. And Vayetze, right? And let's look at the blessing.
Always punish these guys for being
Let's go.
afraid.
Go back to the
That's
beginning,
what-
go
that's
back
simple
to
make you act.
Perek Kafchet, 28, chapter 28, Pasuk Yud. Let's go back to this. We learned this together. We're gonna go another 10 minutes, okay?
Zion is very powerful.
Okay, yeah. Vayetze Yaakov מבאר שבע ויהיה חרנה, ויפגע במקום ויעלן שם, right? He goes out, he's confronted by the angels. והנה אדוני ניצב עליו ויאמר אני אדוני אלוקי אברהם אביך אלוקי יצחק הארץ אשר אתה שוכב עליה לך אתננה לזרעך, right? He says he's given the two berachot that his father and his grandfather got, right? That he's going to have the land and that his children will be too numerous to count, right? If he got those two berachot, what is he panicking about?
Yeah, right.
What is he panicking
Right.
about?
Right.
One
So-
could be half a camp, the other could be the other half a camp. He could still lose half. He's had many children, thank God. It's not to say you can't still not count your descendants from half a camp.
Say that again. I'm sorry. Let me
So,
say.
I mean, it doesn't guarantee survival of the entire family. A lineage could come from one.
Okay. So that could be. That's one possibility.
So
And
what you're saying that if he has such resolve, if he has such resolve, he should just be standing there and waiting for Esav to come meet him. That's what you're saying. That would mean he has complete faith.
yeah, God made me
Standing
a
in
promise.
attention,
One
waiting
second.
for the guy to come up to him.
Daddy made me a
Without
promise.
fear.
God made me a promise, right? Daddy made me a promise.
I don't
God
think
made me a
that's what that
promise.
means. I don't think that faith means you just stand still.
Oh,
Faith
very good.
means
Okay,
I'm gonna get up and act.
beauty. So that's one takeaway,
Right.
right? Faith doesn't mean I'm blindly kacha,
Right,
everything's gonna be okay. That's one very good takeaway.
Right.
Good. But hold it one second. There's
He also
another.
knows he might have to win. Like, if God gave him the promise, that means he beats Esav and he might have to like kill his brother right now.
Right. Also that.
He may have to kill his brother. Very good.
Definitely
Okay,
says
very
what
good.
he's
He may have to kill his brother.
That's what Rashi says, yeah.
And then there are a few things that taunt him a little bit. If you go back a second to Kaf Zayin Lamed Hey,
What's that?
27,
27.
35.
27.
Well, after Yaakov Avinu gives him the blessing, then Esav shows up at his doorstep. What does he tell Yaakov? He says, "Vayoma ba achicha b'mirma, vayikach birchatecha." He says, "Your brother came shrewdly,
Mhm.
and he took your blessing."
Right.
Now Yaakov is haunted for 36 years to say, "Well, Daddy gave me the
He
blessing."
hasn't seen Esav since that happened.
No, and he
That was
hasn't
the
seen
end
his father. Right. He hasn't seen either of them.
The-
Daddy-
but he knows it was told to Esav. Esav found out, got wind of it, and he ran.
No, his mom told him.
His
he
mother-
said, "Better get out of
Get
here."
out of here.
Father tells
I
him
tell
get
you
out.
out of here.
Father tells him get out. Very
Wow.
good. So
That's
what
good
is
since then?
what's haunting Yaakov? What's haunting Yaakov is okay. I got the berachot. Maybe I really deserve them, but Daddy told my brother that I took
Duped
them
him.
shrewdly. I duped him. So
Wow.
He's scared.
maybe I have a problem that I have to be held accountable for.
Right, right.
Because Daddy used a harsh term when he described it. So on the one hand, he didn't take the berachot back, but on the other hand, he's angry.
He changed things too. We use ba. Vayomer ba achicha.
Right.
Va'avo. There's something. He just changed it up for you. Esav, you're in trouble now. Your
Beautiful.
brother came and
That's
Beautiful.
it. That's
things
it.
got turned around.
So
Wow.
Yisrael is a little, Yaakov was a little bit
He's afraid.
scared because it wasn't halak. Now, let's put it in perspective. He spends 36 years. He doesn't see 1 ounce of the beracha that his father gave him. He doesn't see it. He doesn't see all that practical success. He doesn't see it.
So
Then
he's
he
scared.
remembers, you know what, mommy told me, or I heard that Daddy really felt that I misled him when I took the beracha. Even though he kept it with me, I still misled my father. compound that to another thing. For 36 years, Yaakov reasons, Esav lived in Eretz Israel, got all the schut of living in Eretz Israel, has that war chest, and for 36 years, Esav and his children did kibbud av va'em, and me and my kids did not. Holy cow. God gave me the beracha, but I'm not a perfect guy.
Isaac is not still alive yet.
Yes, he's alive.
Right, at this
He's
stage.
still alive. Yeah, still alive.
Oh,
Okay, he's still
that's
alive.
rude.
So what are we holding here? We're holding that the fear that Yaakov is fearing
Real.
is a real fear, right? Because for real life reasons. But there's another element here. Let's touch on it and we'll wrap up. There's another element here. And go back to this, because it's beautiful, and it's beautiful on a number of levels. And one of the levels is that it's beautiful because it's how we learn together. Okay, 5 more minutes, okay? All right, beauty. So go back to 28:13 when it describes the sulam. Hamazra, you with me? Okay, there's a hine, of course, right? But what's the term of God used in the sulam? What term?
Yud-Kei-Vav-Kei.
Ammonai, right?
Right.
Right? What is Ammonai reference? We learned it together. Rachamim,
Oh,
right? Beauty. Go ahead, a few psukim, guys. Turn ahead to pasuk. Pasuk 20. Read it, Zach, honey. Read it. What is he saying in 28:20?
Vaidar Yaakov neder lemor im yihye Elokim imadi ushmarani b'derech hazeh asher anochi holech v'natan li lechem lechol ubeged lilbosh.
Keep going. One more.
V'shavti b'shalom el bet avi v'haya Ammonai li le'elokim.
And what were the angels? So what do we got here?
So that's
What's
a
the
big thing
difference
when they
here?
use that word. It's
When
about
HaKadosh
being
Baruch Hu
something.
gives the beracha, is that? Rachamim, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives the beracha. What is he giving it in?
Elohim.
What name, honey? What name is he giving it in?
Elohim.
Kevavke, Rachamim.
Right.
Wait, but it says Elohim after that.
Right? And when Yaakov
It says both
tries to claim the beracha,
Right.
he claims it in the
Hyphenated.
context of din, of Elohim. There's two conversations going on here.
Well, it's both, but there
He
is.
says, Ammonai
"Yeh
will be
Elohim," and
li
that's the same word.
Elohim. First, he says he makes his neder to Elohim. He didn't make the neder to Ammonai. He makes a neder to Elohim, to the God of din, to the God of judgment, to the God of
Well,
accountability.
no, he does both.
He says,
Repeat, it says Im Yehyeh Elohim, which is
Yeah.
Yud-Kei-Vav-Kei, because it says Yehyeh. That word is the same as the other word,
okay, but it's not.
but
But
it is.
Elohim is
It's
Elohim.
right there, right?
But he didn't say, yeah, Ammonai Elohim, Yud-Kei-Vav-Kei Elohim.
Yeah, Elohim. Imadi,
Yeah,
it's the
okay,
word.
it's hard to say it that way. Then you're skipping the word.
You could have
Yeah,
just said
Ammonai
Elohim Elohim Imadi.
You could have said that, yes. But it
Right.
doesn't- Yeah, but it's a beautiful idea. Yeah, could be Ammonai, but it really isn't. It's really yeah.
Okay.
It
I
could
don't
say
know.
it's
All of a sudden
Yud-
now words don't mean anything.
no Yud K Vav K,
Right,
not
right.
Yud K Yud K.
I know.
Right, Yud K. Okay, good. So the approach goes as follows. The promise of all these beautiful things is made to him by Ammonai, right?
Hmm.
He says, I need Elohim. I need Midat Hadin. I got to come out good on the side of Din, not on the side of Rachamim. Maybe he says, no, Anenu, I failed on the side of Din. The angels that came to greet me are Malachei Elohim. They're angels of Din. And therefore, the promise was given to me by the merciful God The God of accountability may be calling me to account here, and therefore I'm scared wits. Because it's a different reference point. And just because, and we need to know, and what is the
So he's still
the
afraid of the
introduction here?
Malachim, you're saying?
The Malachim are reference Malachai Akim.
I'm saying he's still afraid of them?
He's afraid of what they represent. What they represent is deen. They represent judgment,
Really, that's
accountability.
right there.
Hey, I really stole the blessing. I really, not I stole the
It
blessing.
could be his undertaker.
That's right.
They're coming together.
That's right. I deceived my father. The blessing should have been mine. That's what mommy said. The reality is I deceived my father. The reality is I didn't get any of those blessings. 36 years later, I didn't see anything yet. The reality is maybe
That's why he's saying
I didn't get Elohim on my side. I got Amonai on my side. I don't have Dean with me. And what is the rub for us, guys? And what we need to know? What we need to know is that Elohim from the side of Din is going to sometimes trounce, so to speak, on Midat HaRachamim and call us to task on something.
Well, you said Deen is absolute love. Without judgment, without Deen, there's no love.
Perfect. Perfect. So Yaakov didn't know whether this was that judgment moment or not. And his great fear and panic was because, you know what? I did a lot of things right.
Right, but then the
I
other part of
ain't
it, that was his promise. He says, look, if you keep me around, that's really what that pasuk was saying. If you keep me alive and I get to see this whole thing happen, that's the vow, right? That's the neder.
Yeah.
If Hashem remains with me, but really it's, if I'm here to see it, right? Then Hashem will be my God. That was his
as Elohim,
Right, but
As
only
Elohim.
then.
Right.
So if I don't make it to the end of this thing,
right? So now he's thinking, no, then
maybe
he's not going to make it.
He didn't
Yeah.
take up on the offer.
I maybe he's not going to make it. Esav has a lot of stuff in his court.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff. 36 years in the land.
He's not sure.
Kibbut Av. I did some things. He says that even though they were meant for me, but I still deceived Daddy.
Do we
I
fault
still
Yaakov
disrespected
for
him.
this?
Huh?
Do we fault Yaakov for this lack of faith?
No. So now we have the final point. Beautiful, perfect question. Set me up perfectly.
Lobbed it right over the plate.
Right over the phone. So now, where does this put us? As the third leg of this place, and Izzy, you said it, that we're going to be working in the context of mercy, of Amonai,
Right.
with a ongoing awareness of the absolute interjection of Din.
Gotcha.
So
So we're not faulting him, but we're understanding.
We're understanding how life works as a
But
Jew.
Moshe gets faulted for hitting the rock, but Yaakov doesn't get faulted in this situation.
Beautiful, beautiful. You know why Moshe gets faulted for hitting the rock? We're doing it together in the
Same thing.
640 class. No, it's completely different. We're going to touch on it this week, God willing, gentlemen. Why Moshe gets faulted for hitting the rock? What, yeah. The 640 team. All right. What did we say about Moshe Rabbeinu and his Nebu'ah? That how it's different from everybody else's. Noah? Huh?
Direct.
And
And it was while he was awake. He didn't have to go to sleep. He didn't have any doubt.
Shouldn't.
Oh, and we could take what he says as law because there's no bias from the intermediary. So we
intermediary, there's no, and there is no self, there is no self that comes to interrupt the flow between God and Moshe. There is self in
So
everybody,
we expect more.
right?
That's what he
And
said.
therefore, because there is no self, hold it a minute, because there is no self, then the Nebuah of Moshe is completely reality.
He has no self. Moshe.
He has no self. He's absolutely become one with God. He has no self. Yirmiyah has a self. Shemuel has a self. Michael has a self, right?
Right.
He has no self.
No ego.
Therefore-
It's just
Therefore,
straight.
what he says is what is. So when he
Hits the
when he
rock.
criticizes the Jewish people, right? And with the rock situation at Mei Merivah, his failure was that when he spoke, that wasn't reality.
But you said there was no
He
self. We're
spoke-
talking about who?
Exactly.
Who
That
said?
was
Who spoke?
That's who spoke.
Who spoke?
That's the problem.
But
That for a
It's not-
minute,
It's not existing.
good,
How did
good.
it get there?
For a minute,
That's a big question. It's a
No,
huge
okay,
philosophical
very
thing to
good.
know.
I'm just telling you
We need
how
to know
to, how,
why he wants-
I'm telling you how Rambam understands it. Rambam understands it, that hear it, and then we'll fight about it. It's good. Rambam understands it, that for Moshe Rabbeinu, it wasn't effortless
I'm calling
for him to be in this state of non-self. Wasn't effortless for him to be away from his wife, exclusive of all the trappings of a practical human being. It wasn't effortless, didn't switch and got checked out. It was a life effort like everybody else's is, right? And for a minute, he lost it. And he presents to the people something in reality, because whatever he said was real, that wasn't reality.
Versus Yaakov in one. How's that Yaakov is different? Because he has.
Yaakov is not the same.
He has
Right.
himself the whole time.
Yep,
You're saying he lost his nivuah
he
For that
lost his exceptional status.
Yeah, I think
for that minute.
this whole.
And for that minute, he was not Moshe for that minute. And that paints a picture of reality, which is not reality.
He became.
He became Moshe and not God.
Moshe, not the, right, not the Moshe.
Meaning he was able to transcend like in meditation, right? He was able to get to that.
All right, I went to the gym for the
And
day.
he-
I'm
and he
done.
fell for a second.
Stevie, call me. I got your information. Stevie,
Teddy.
no, this is Steven.
Huh? Which Steven?
Teddy,
Teddy.
forgive me. Call me. I have your information. Please, in 10 minutes. Thank you,
Sounds
Teddy.
good. Thank you.
All right.
That's great.
One sentence, boys. The depth of your thinking is overwhelming for a guy like me.
Yeah,
It's great
To
stuff.
sit in on this and say, how do these guys do this?
that's because they have
It's
fantastic print.
remarkable.
I'm telling you,
I
this
swear
is,
it's
that's why for me, it's a celebration. They-
Please,
You can't even imagine, for me,
You
what it is.
radiate.
It's
You
such a
are
gift.
in
Because I
radiation.
can bring it to these, because they're all so smart. That's the thing here. Great.
Overwhelming.
Thank you, guys.
Great.
Appreciate it.
And those
Have a
sneakers.
great day.
Thank you
to
so
you
much.
too.
All right, thank you.
Uh,